Well, in the build-up to the 2027 general elections, there are states that do not prepare for governorship elections, at least with other states or majority of the states in Nigeria. Now, these states will experience what we call off-cycle elections. And one of those states is Anambra State, which is preparing for its governorship election come November the 8th, 2025. And that's just less than 6 months to go. So in our continuous coverage of the political situation across the country, particularly as Anambra State prepares towards the governorship election, we are joined by someone from the state, Mr. Anselm Onora, as former chairman, Anambra East Local Government Area, is also secretary of APGA Digital Registration Committee. He joins us virtually on the program from Oka this afternoon. You're welcome to Lunchtime Politics, Mr. Onora.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure having you.
Well, it's a pleasure having you on the show. I know that there's a lot of activities in the build-up to the election. I think one of the wins for Governor Soludo would be President Bola Tinubu visiting just days ago. And I imagine that must have been a major shot in the arm for the governor. But let's speak to some of the things that people will vote based on in Anambra State. Yes, that is a big win, but when it comes to infrastructure, security, and the economy, well, this is what really matters to the people of the state. And I just want to speak to what a chieftain in the APC said about the government of Professor Chukwuma Soludo, saying that, and this is from Mr. Valentine Ozigbo, which I'm sure you're familiar with. He says that Governor Soludo's record is a glaring theater of missed priorities, misplaced ambitions, and media optics masquerading as progress. I don't know if you've come across that statement, but this presents you an opportunity to respond to that.
Yes, yes, I think I came across that on this S handles a few days ago, and for me, it's like someone who is not in touch with reality. Of course, Val Ozigbo, of course, we know him. But for someone like him to say that what is happening in Anambra is not actually a big transformation, I don't know where that is coming from, and it's a laughing matter for me. Because if you look at what the present government, led by Charles Chukwuma Soludo, has done since he came into office, it's a big transformation. And you look at road constructions, the infrastructure is providing. You look at the healthcare services is provided. If you look at the security that has improved since he came into power. And when you say all those things, and you'll be thinking it's someone who has been into power for years, but he just barely 3 years in office. Soludo has awarded over 700 kilometers of road with over 450 completed. Soludo has also provided 5 brand new general hospitals in Anambra, in places where they were not before. Not renovation, 5 new brand general hospitals. He has also employed teachers, 8,115 teachers employed within 3 years. 1,000 healthcare staff employed within 3 years. Over 450 kilometers of road completed, asphalted. The first city has done that Mr. President came to commission. The new government house, people say government house, but I call it a city within a city, because you need to see what Mr. Governor has done. For anybody who is politically aware to say that Mr. Governor is masquerading, I think we need to either probably call a psychologist for that person, because it's not reality on ground. The fact is that Governor Chukwuma Soludo has done very well, and the Anambra people are happy. And as a journalist, and also we are following the trend of what is happening in Anambra. You talk of Oboko, the transformation he brought in Oboko. The pipe-borne water, these are what some of us did experience, but under Charles Chukwuma Soludo, we're beginning to see pipe-borne water running in our streets and our houses. So for someone like Val, I think something is wrong somewhere.
Well, let's take a look at some of the points he made, and I'd like you to speak to the data regarding these issues. So he says that, well, yes, the governor may be focusing on cutting ribbon, some of these projects which you mentioned, and he described them as image-lifting ventures, while fundamental issues like public housing, unemployment, and insecurity remain unresolved. So let's speak to those 3 points. Let's start with public housing, which I know you know is also vital. Speak to us about the work the governor has done regarding that, unemployment as well, and then we can talk about insecurity, which is a major issue. But let's start with public housing and unemployment.
Yes, in terms of public, the Ministry of Housing in Anambra State, as we speak, are developing 2 big estates for public use. The Liberation Estate that is located in Awka, Anambra State. So for people to talk about infrastructure and say negative things about the current government, that means, because that's where Mr. Governor has scored in. So for public housing is an area Mr. Governor has paid serious attention since he came into office, and the Ministry of Housing is doing a lot in that area, and there's a lot of estates that present government is developing for public use. And you talk of the insecurity, which was the last you mentioned, but let me talk about it briefly, because during Mr. Governor's campaign, there were 7 local governments that they were not able to go for campaign, but today those local governments, they are recovered, and people are going about their normal businesses, including the Ozigbo local government. We were taken by hoodlums before the elections. And you saw what Mr. Governor did, the launch of Operation Udogachi, that he launched immediately he came in. Now, before he came in, remember on his day of inauguration, he offered amnesty to these criminal gangs that are masquerading in the name of agitation and whatever IPOB. He offered them amnesty. That if you must achieve what we are talking about, it must be by dialogue, not by taking up arms. By then, you know there was persons who had sentiments for these guys. Even within the political circle, there were people who were claiming they were fighting for freedom, calling them all sorts of names. But when it became done on them that these guys are a bunch of criminals, they started also recording on government. And Mr. Governor took it upon himself to launch Operation Udogachi, which is a joint security effort between the army, the navy, the police, the civil defense, and the local vigilante. And we see massive results that is happening in Anambra State. That today people can go around the whole local government without any fear of being kidnapped or any criminal elements. Of course, for every state, there must be a pocket of criminal gang moving around, but at this particular point in time, it was a far, far below what it was when Mr. Governor came into power. And for people to be politicizing insecurity at this point in time is something I cannot even understand. Then he talked about the things he has built that he said is, I don't know what they called it, the new government house. For 33 years, my brother, Anambra State government has been on a rented place. What type of government is that? And that's what Mr. Governor has done. And when you talk about this, Mr. President came on 8th of May to commission it. That's about 1,148 days in office of Mr. Governor, and he was able to do the new government house, was able to do the Fund City, was able to do over 450 kilometers of road,
right,
that dualized, and somebody is there arguing that Mr. Governor is not doing anything. So,
and that's also another point.
Argument, I don't think it's something that we want our time discussing.
Well, these are valid points. Aside the fact that he is a citizen of the state, is a political leader. I mean, these are valid points that have been raised. And you know, on the issue of security, the fact that 1,500 NSCDC operatives were deployed to the state for the president's visits, lots of police officers, military and all, is also a testament for some people. That kind of deployment usually happens when we have major events, just to keep, security, ensure that the place is safe. So why deploy that much if Anambra State is safe? On the one hand. On the other hand is the talk around Agone Chamber, people who, I know that someone from government said that it's been infiltrated by hoodlums, but that's also been another concern, seeing those masquerading as Agone Chamber operatives, harassing people, robbing people, wielding firearms and the rest. So those are security points that were made to buttress the points.
Yes, so first, I wouldn't want to talk for security agencies but for Mr. President visiting the state, I know the security agencies have the apparatus of which they deploy personnel to guide Mr. President and other citizens that are coming, because of course it's not only Mr. President that came, it came a handful of well-meaning Nigerians and governors. So for security reasons, they could deploy such things. But we have also seen where such numbers were deployed in different other states for Mr. President's visit or some VVIP personality visit. But to say that Anambra State, because we have to put it on the desk, where were we before Mr. Governor came into power? And as of today, has there been a major improvement? My brother, the answer is crystal clear. There has been a major improvement from where we were. The launch of Operation Dogati and what people are complaining about, of course, I wouldn't want to remove the fact that there could be pocket of abuse somewhere, which is what we are still working on to see that most of those things people complain about, if actually that happened, that there's monitoring and there's feedback mechanism to see how these guys are operating. But they are working in tandem with the police, the Nigerian Army, who supervises their operations. Even Nigerian Army has been accused in many cases where they will go for operation. Even people will come and accuse them, and when you verify, they will not be able to come out with substantial evidence. So, but these guys, you can't say because people come sit back and complain to allow them to allow hoodlums to take over our streets, take over our local government. It cannot happen. We cannot chicken to that. So people who are complaining, yes, if there's a genuine case, we isolate them and treat such instances. But for them to generalize that the launch of Operation Udogachi and the Agunde Chamber team that are using their powers and to use it as a yardstick to say that they're not doing anything is not true.
All right. Mr. Honora, we'll take a quick break now. And when we return, we'll wind down on this conversation because I know that the goal is the coming election. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance.
Welcome back. We're still talking politics, particularly in Anambra State, in the build-up to the November 8th governorship election, where Professor Soludo is seeking re-election. We still have with us Mr. Anselm Onora, former chairman, Anambra East Local Government Area, secretary of APGA Digital Registration Committee. Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Onora. One of the other points made, and this talks about use of resources, allocation of resources. There's a lot of buzz around the Fun City, and I'm sure you've caught some of those questions asked around the Fun City project. And people look, for example, at the education sector. We look at the recent performance, for example, from, let's say, NECO, and seeing that all the states in the Southeast, or at least 3 states in the Southeast, did quite well. And I'm talking Abia, Imo, Ebonyi, scoring 80+% in terms of 5 credits and above, including maths and English. And they expected Anambra states to be on that list, seeing that the Southeast was taking a chunk of it. But Anambra State was nowhere to be found. So people are saying, what is the essence of the Fun City, for example? What is the government doing regarding education?
Okay, I think I lost some part of the question, but if I take part of the things I heard when we connected, what the government is doing about education in Anambra State, right?
Yeah, and well, resource allocation. Why Fun City? I hope we're not leaving education and other important aspects out.
Not at all. The government is not leaving education. In fact, if there is can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Please go ahead. Okay, well, not anymore. Looks like the connection froze on us. But Mr. Honora, if you can hear me, please go ahead with your response.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
I'm saying that the government is doing a lot in terms of education. And if you really understand the psychology of human beings, also know the Fun City is also part of education, but I'll come to that later on. I did mention earlier that when Professor Soludo came in, he employed over 8,000 teachers to our public and private owned schools. When I say private, that is those owned by mission and those run by the government. These were efforts made to end era of schools without teachers. And you could imagine for more than 8 years, there has not been such employment in the education system, and people were retiring. And you heard of the PTA teachers, but the governor came immediately and employed 8,115 teachers to end that era so that the ratio of teachers to students could be reduced. And those employment were made on merit base, not by nationality, not by state of origin, but by a merit base. So by human capital development, Mr. Governor has invested much, because you can't talk of infrastructure in education without quality teachers. And these teachers are going on to continuous trainings by the ASBEB, by the PPSSA for those in primary and those in secondary school. And in terms of infrastructure, Mr. Governor is building 22 smart schools across the 21 local governments in Anambra State. So it's a huge investment in education. And if you look at Anambra State, so Anambra has been rising in terms of education, but we have not seen it this far since Governor Soludo came into power. I'm not talking because I'm part of the system, but I'm telling you, this is the reality people are seeing. That someone employed 8,115 within 3 years in office is a fact that you don't need to argue about. You don't need to belong to for you to accept that this is a huge investment in education. And you talk about the fun city. Anambra is one of the states where children don't have recreation center, and recreation is part of education. So it's investing in education and also investing in psychological development of the people, because you see, people work in Anambra and go out on weekends somewhere to enjoy. And that's what Mr. Governor has done. And he has not affected any of investments. Remember, all these things he has reviewed, he has not borrowed one kobo. So for people to argue that is not that why the fun city, why not this? But the fact that has he obstructed anything he's doing? The answer is no. He's investing in road, he's investing in education, he's investing in infrastructure, he's investing in health. I did mention earlier that he built 5 new hospitals.
Well, Mr. Onora,
indeed
you mentioned, but at the end of the day, it will be the choice.
These are investments he's doing.
Indeed, but at the end of the day, it will be the choice of the people of Anambra State. So you've laid your facts. It's not left to the people to make their decision come November the 8th. But we have to thank you so much for your time, for contributions as well. We'll be speaking with Mr. Anselmo Onora, a former chairman, Anambra East Local Government Area, and Secretary APGA Digital Registration Committee, joining us from Awka virtually. Thank you for your time once again.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.